Local area emergency for the city of Lambios. High school, university, college. The following message is transmitted at the request of civil authorities. A local area emergency has been issued for this area following a catastrophic incident at a local school earlier today. Fire and emergency crews responded to multiple calls reporting explosions, structural collapse, and a rapidly spreading blaze within the campus buildings. Upon arrival, responders discovered that large sections of the school had already been destroyed by fire, and many students and faculty members were found deceased within the structure. Search and rescue operations continued for several hours as firefighters worked to extinguish the flames and recover survivors. Authorities have since declared the school abandoned and secured the surrounding area while investigators determine the cause of the incident. Residents are urged to avoid the area and allow emergency personnel to continue their work safely. Among the few survivors identified was a student named Lacey, who was located in a state of extreme distress and transported to a secure location for treatment and questioning. In statements given to reporters, Lacey claimed that during the incident, she had the overwhelming feeling that someone was watching her, and that the sensation did not stop even after she escaped the building. Officials have not confirmed these claims but are taking all survivor testimony seriously. Residents are encouraged to remain calm, remain alert, and await further updates from local authorities as the investigation continues. Local area emergency update for the city of Lambios High School. Authorities have released additional information regarding Lacey, one of the survivors of the school disaster. Family members and medical staff report that she has developed a severe fear of leaving her home and spends most of her time indoors. She has repeatedly stated that she believes someone is still watching her, though no evidence of a direct threat has been confirmed at this time. Law enforcement officials are maintaining periodic patrols in the area as a precaution, while also continuing to investigate the school incident. Residents are advised to remain cautious and to report any suspicious individuals or unusual activity to local authorities. While there is no confirmed danger to the public at this time, officials recommend that residents remain indoors whenever possible during nighttime hours and ensure that doors and windows are secured. Further updates will be provided as new information becomes available. Child abduction emergency for the city of Jacksonville. Following reports are searching for a missing teenager, identified as Lacey, who was reported missing from her residence earlier today. Witness statements indicate that she was preparing to leave her home when an unknown individual forcibly abducted her. Evidence collected at the scene suggests the suspect may still be in the local area, and authorities have begun a coordinated search effort involving multiple patrol units and investigative teams. Residents are advised to remain inside their homes, keep all entrances locked, and avoid interfering with police operations. Anyone who may have seen suspicious vehicles, individuals, or activity near residential neighborhoods is urged to report this information immediately through non-emergency channels. Authorities stress that time is critical in abduction cases, and public cooperation is essential to ensuring the safe recovery of the missing individual. Child abduction emergency for the city of Jacksonville. This is an update of the message that was explained 30 minutes ago. Authorities have located the individual responsible for the abduction of Lacey and have taken the suspect into custody following a confrontation with law enforcement. Lacey has been recovered alive and returned to her family, where she is receiving medical and psychological care. Investigators report that the suspect was a stalker who had developed an obsession with her and had been monitoring her movements for some time, possibly even before the school incident occurred. Residents are advised that there is no longer an immediate abduction threat related to this case. However, authorities remind the public to remain aware of their surroundings and report any suspicious behavior in their communities. The investigation into the suspect and their activities is ongoing. This is an urgent public safety message for the city of Jacksonville. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Federal Emergency Agency and civil authorities. Authorities have confirmed that several of the missing students and faculty members have been found deceased. Investigators have determined that the individual responsible for these deaths is Lacey herself. Officials state that she appears to be in a severely unstable mental state and has demonstrated violent and unpredictable behavior. During attempts to detain her, several officers were injured, and others were unable to restrain her as she fled the scene. Residents are strongly advised to remain indoors and avoid all contact with Lacey. Law enforcement units are actively searching the area and have issued a high-priority alert to all responding agencies. The public is reminded that approaching Lacey is extremely dangerous and should never be attempted under any circumstances. Shelter-in-place warning for the city of Jacksonville, San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York City, Chula Vista, and Carlsbad. Residents are ordered to remain inside their homes and avoid all travel until further notice. Authorities report that Lacey has been seen targeting individuals in public locations, including commercial areas and schools. Evidence recovered at multiple scenes indicates that she is armed with a pocket knife and an axe and has attacked anyone who approached her or attempted to intervene. Law enforcement officials emphasize that the suspect is extremely dangerous and unpredictable. Residents should lock all doors and windows, turn off exterior lights if possible, and avoid drawing attention to their location. Emergency services are continuing their search, and additional information will be broadcast as it becomes available. Civil danger warning for the city of Jacksonville, Los Angeles, New York City, Chula Vista, and Carlsbad. A civil danger warning has been issued for this area. Authorities report that Lacey is now responsible for multiple violent incidents across several locations. Residents are warned not to approach her under any circumstances. Anyone outdoors may be at risk, particularly in areas such as shopping centers, schools, or other public gathering places. Law enforcement agencies are deploying additional units and coordinating efforts to locate and stop Lacey as quickly as possible. Residents should remain indoors, monitor official broadcasts, and follow all instructions from emergency management officials. The situation remains active and dangerous, and public cooperation is essential to ensuring the safety of the community. If you become stranded outside, do not attempt to make a sound that'll attract Lacey. Be sure to remain silent, quiet, and do not make any sound if she is nearby. Law enforcement officials are still under cover of stopping Lacey before it is too late. Over 30 individuals had been brutally murdered by Lacey, and over 10 had been injured and gone missing. Local officials are warned to not remain outdoors or addition to travel to places, as Lacey will try and find you, as suspects have reported that Lacey has good hearing and good eyesight to detect which victim she'll detect to murder. Individuals are advised to remain indoors and keep all windows and doors locked. Be sure to have food, water, clothing, medical supplies, a flashlight, a battery-powered radio with extra batteries, cell phone and phone chargers, toiletries, and important documents to last you and your family for the duration of the emergency. Stay tuned for more information on this life-threatening situation.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the local FBI security agency, the Federal Statement Agency, and civil authorities. Emergency management officials report that multiple emergency call centers are experiencing outages due to the high volume of incidents and damage to communications infrastructure. Residents attempting to reach emergency services may experience delays or may be unable to connect. Authorities are working to restore full service as quickly as possible. Residents are strongly advised to remain indoors and avoid gatherings or public events until further notice. Reports indicate that the suspect has been targeting occupied homes and locations where celebrations or large gatherings are taking place. Secure your residence, remain quiet, and await further instructions from local authorities. Local officials are stating that Lacey has been on a rampant killing spree and shall not be approached at all costs. More deaths had been reported by this woman time to time, as she has some sort of supernatural power that can't be explained at this time. Stay tuned for more information on this life-threatening situation.
This is an emergency action notification, requested by the White House. All EAS participants will follow activation procedures in the EAS Operating Handbook for a national-level emergency. The President of the United States, or one of his representatives, will follow activation over the emergency alert system. Please stand by, please stand by, please stand by. We interrupt our regular programming. This is a national emergency. Important details will follow. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the Law Enforcement Agency, civil authorities, and the local Lambios High School University in Jacksonville. This is not a test. Repeating, this is not a test. Please pay close attention to this alert, as this pertains an ongoing crisis event. At 12:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the United States government, in coordination with federal law enforcement agencies and national emergency management authorities, has issued a national alert regarding the ongoing violent crisis originating from the previously identified suspect known as Lacey. What began as a localized series of violent incidents has now escalated into a coordinated and widespread national threat. Federal agencies confirm that the suspect has demonstrated capabilities and behaviors that extend beyond conventional criminal patterns, including highly coordinated movements across multiple regions within short time frames. Authorities are currently investigating the possibility of advanced evasion tactics, organized assistance, or unknown influencing factors contributing to the suspect's rapid expansion of activity. Reports confirm multiple simultaneous attacks in residential neighborhoods, educational institutions, abandoned structures, and government-affiliated facilities. Law enforcement response teams dispatched to several of these sites have encountered severe resistance, and casualties among officers have been reported. Communications infrastructure in certain regions has been disrupted or intentionally sabotaged, limiting response coordination and increasing public risk. Emergency officials strongly advise all residents nationwide to immediately shelter in place. Lock and barricade all doors and windows. Close blinds and curtains. Turn off exterior lighting. Silence mobile devices if possible and avoid drawing attention to your location. Authorities also confirm that the previously deceased stalker connected to earlier incidents has somehow reappeared and is believed to be assisting Lacey in coordinated attacks. The circumstances surrounding this development remain under investigation. Intelligence units report that the two individuals appear to be operating with shared intent, targeting previous victims, schools, and responding agencies. Federal task forces have been deployed, including specialized containment and tactical response divisions. However, officials warn that the threat level remains extremely high and unpredictable. Residents are instructed to gather emergency supplies sufficient for at least 72 hours. These supplies should include water, non-perishable food, medical kits, flashlights, backup batteries, and communication devices capable of receiving emergency broadcasts. Do not attempt to leave your shelter unless directed by verified government authorities. Do not open doors to unknown individuals claiming to need assistance unless law enforcement presence is visibly confirmed. If you encounter either suspect, do not engage. Retreat immediately and seek secure shelter. National Guard units and federal agencies are coordinating air and ground surveillance operations. Curfews are being enacted in multiple metropolitan areas. Schools and public institutions nationwide are closed until further notice. Transportation systems in several regions have been suspended to prevent additional casualties and to limit suspect mobility. Authorities emphasize that public cooperation is critical at this time. An unauthorized override has interrupted portions of this broadcast. Emergency systems have detected an unknown transmission source temporarily seizing control of national frequencies. A distorted visual feed has appeared in several regions displaying threatening imagery accompanied by an audio message claiming that the attackers are approaching and that residents have limited time remaining. Federal cyber defense teams are actively working to restore full control of the emergency alert system. If you are seeing or hearing unauthorized content, immediately disregard the message and continue following official government instructions. Do not panic. Remain sheltered. Do not respond to any commands or threats broadcast outside verified emergency channels. Authorities confirm that the hijacking attempt indicates deliberate interference with national infrastructure. This confirms the suspect's intent to create widespread fear and destabilization. Federal response operations are escalating accordingly. The situation remains active and extremely dangerous. Remain inside your shelter. Await further verified instructions. Do not trust unofficial broadcasts or social media claims. All clear, repeating, all clear, this is an emergency action termination message. At the request of federal, state, and local authorities, the nationwide emergency condition previously in effect has officially ended. Law enforcement and military response units confirm that the two primary suspects, responsible for the widespread incidents identified as Lacey and her accomplice Stalker, have been located and neutralized following a large-scale coordinated operation. The threat to the public has been eliminated, and no further hostile activity connected to these individuals has been detected. Residents may now safely leave their shelters unless otherwise instructed by local officials in areas where recovery operations are still underway. Emergency response agencies report that the damage caused during this crisis was extensive. Numerous communities experienced structural destruction to homes, schools, commercial buildings, and public infrastructure. Search and rescue operations continued for many hours after the final confrontation to ensure that all survivors were located and that no additional threats remained. Medical teams, relief organizations, and disaster recovery units are now being deployed nationwide to assist those affected, provide temporary housing, and begin the long process of rebuilding damaged areas. Authorities acknowledge that the loss of life during this incident was severe. Among the victims were students, teachers, civilians, and law enforcement officers who responded in an effort to protect others. Officials emphasize that the bravery of first responders and the cooperation of residents who followed emergency instructions prevented even greater loss. National and regional governments will be establishing assistance programs, memorial services, and counseling resources to help families and survivors recover from the emotional and psychological effects of these events. Investigations into the circumstances surrounding the crisis will continue in the coming weeks and months. Federal agencies will be reviewing communications failures, infrastructure damage, and the unusual sequence of events that allowed the situation to escalate so rapidly. Officials assure the public that measures are already being planned to prevent a similar event from ever occurring again. Emergency preparedness procedures, communications safeguards, and response coordination systems will be strengthened to ensure faster containment of future threats. Residents are reminded that although the immediate danger has passed, certain areas may remain closed temporarily due to ongoing recovery operations, structural instability, or forensic investigations. Please follow all instructions issued by local authorities in your specific area. Travel may be restricted in some locations while crews restore utilities, clear debris, and repair damaged infrastructure. As communities begin the process of recovery, officials encourage residents to support one another, check on neighbors and family members, and make use of available relief resources. Despite the tragedy that overshadowed what was meant to be a day of celebration, authorities emphasize that unity, cooperation, and resilience allowed the nation to endure this crisis and bring it to an end. On behalf of emergency management agencies and the government, we thank all residents for their patience, discipline, and cooperation during this national emergency. Your adherence to shelter orders and safety instructions saved lives and allowed response teams to operate effectively under extremely difficult conditions. The nationwide emergency condition is now lifted. The coast is clear. Residents may resume normal activities as conditions allow in their local areas. This concludes transmission over the emergency alert system. All broadcast and cable systems shall resume regular programming. Emergency broadcasts will now be handed over to state and local officials. This concludes all operations over the emergency alert system. Normal programming may now resume. Your government thanks you for the cooperation during this emergency. Lacey and her stalker have been reported to be neutralized. Repeating, Lacey and her stalker have been reported to be neutralized.